And we will start with blood pressure. The majority of the classes saw this particular chapter almost complete. That is a good thing, meaning that we can go a little bit very quickly with this one. The first thing that I need to tell you is that there is a question in regarding this second bullet over there. Is a true or false? I think that this particular question is 1 on 4 test, but it's a question. Is there. I find out. I made it. It's very interesting. Meaning extreme careful with this particular question. It's a copy paste and basically a true or false over there. Remember that the pressure of the blood produced by the force that the left ventricle do when it's pushing out that blood over there, overcoming the resistance of the aorta and obviously the opening of that valve in the beginning of the aorta. Let's move on immediately to the next one. The determinants of the systemic blood pressure, you have them over there, cardiac output and the resistance to the ejections of that blood from the heart. And you have that beautiful mathematical formula over here. Yeah, I need to tell you that I have for every particular quiz, and they are 4 of them, a particular case that you need to calculate the cardiac output. And then with that number, I will give you also the systemic vascular resistance number, and then you will calculate the systolic blood pressure of that person. It's very simple. You don't need to use calculators because the numbers multiply by themselves over there. Somebody have problem over there with the audio? Just let me know. But I think that everything is working fine. Can you hear me now? If that is the problem, make sure that you can log out and log in again. Probably it could be that. All right. Continue over here. Make sure that you remember how to calculate over here the cardiac output and then multiply that for this to obtain the blood pressure. For the slide 3, again, I will ask you the blood pressure, but you need to calculate the cardiac output, then multiply that by the systemic vascular resistance. Every test will have a different particular case with different numbers, meaning that the answer in that particular question is different for the 4 quizzes over there. Let's move on to the next one. It's very simple. Okay, there is somebody that is sending me a text message to see if I can give an example. Okay, I will give you an example. Very simple. I will say that that particular patient have a stroke volume of 2 and have a heart rate, let's say, of 60, and have a basically a systemic vascular resistance of 2. What you need to do over here is very simple. You multiply those 2, that will give you 120. And once that you have that 120, you multiply that one by 2. Basically, it will give you 240, and that will be the answer. Okay? See, I will use simple numbers, meaning that you don't need to use huge amounts of, I hope that nobody have any kind of amounts of problem calculating these silly numbers. But I need to tell you, I have some situation like that one that I explained right now, and some people put 3 trillions of numbers over there. I don't know how it's possible that. I hope that basically with this, that will clarify what will be the question in that quiz. Let's move on to the next one. I have some particular definitions, but in this one in particular, this is something that we already saw previously. I will not go with this. Also, I told you already that I decided to remove this one out. Still, this particular slide is something that you will see later on in the course. And I need to tell you something. The faculty in general education has been in constant communication with the nurse department, meaning that they want to enforce that the notebook that you are preparing now would need to be used in classes in the core. I mean, you think that you will run away from that book, I have bad news for you. You will need to use that notebook in the core. It's rico, it's delicious, it's sugar crush. And the reason that the nurse want to enforce that now is because they are finding out that some students start to tell in the court that I never saw that particular topic before. when it's already covered in pathology and physiology. And now, because they know that we are covering that in our classes, they are making sure that you bring your notebook in the core, meaning I hope that everybody will do that notebook like a beautiful journal that your life is completely explained over there. It's rico and delicious, the work of the team together. Moving on to the next one. The direct measurements of the blood pressure, I create a multiple choice, but pay attention. I will select this bullet and this bullet, and I will mix it with this general slide, meaning that the multiple choice will be in relations of this particular slide mixing with the other two bullets from the previous one. It is clear. I know that somebody had the microphone open. I hope that they can listen to me very clearly. But if keep it quiet, we don't have any problem. Moving on to the next one. Okay, somebody said that I need to show you bullet 6 again. Again, I will use these two bullets, and then I will use this one in particular to do the question, but I will mix them with the previous two that I marked before. Okay? If there is any kind of problem, let's move on then. Now, the short-term regulations of the systemic blood pressure, yes, there is a multiple choice over here. I basically include something else from the next one, meaning that you have over here 2 or 4 quizzes, a multiple choice from this slide. But again, this includes this one and this one. Also, in this slide that is part of the previous one, I have a true or false in another test that only goes with the bullet, meaning that these two particular slides do basically two different questions. This one as a beautiful true or false, and then the two bullets with the previous slide a multiple choice, meaning that depending the test that you will get, or you will get the multiple choice, or you will get the true or false. And this is split evenly. Two tests will have the true or false, and two tests will have the multiple choice. Careful with that one, because it's exactly like that. It's copy paste, and then I did a tiny switch. Moving on to the next one, I will jump the questions. The long regulations of the systemic blood pressure, this is something that the only thing that there is in one test is related to the last bullet and is a true or false. I did some changes over here, obviously. Remember that I have only a space for 30 questions, and even there are different words, I want to emphasize some particular topics that are very important, especially for chapter 19 that we will enter tonight, because it's there that you will see some extra important information for you, for your quizzes, and for your bonus. Moving on, remember just last bullet over there for true or false. This one, exactly what I told in the class, and I told everybody, this is a multiple choice. Slide 10, again, is a question. This is a question. Pay attention, please. I cannot go back when they are not paying attention. Meaning, again, this is a multiple choice, and everybody will see this particular question. Everybody will have a different answer, but it's the same slide, the same question is coming from there. Okay? Meaning this is 4 or 4, no matter what. Remember that these particular fellows are located in the kidney. And these particular fellows will basically respond to low in the blood pressure. And that is basically what will create that conversion that I mentioned in the class from angiotensin 1 to angiotensin 2. The reason that we use in cardiology the ACE inhibitors to avoid that transformations over there. I mentioned in the class captopril, lisinopril, enalapril, so on, so on, so on. That slide is one that will hunting you out until the end of times in the nursing core. That's why I need to emphasize this one in particular. Besides, I'm pretty sure that you saw this one already in physiology long time ago. Now, this one in particular, I have a question just for this one. Careful. It's another true or false question in one test of four. I did it just to make the difference over there. It's a true or false question. Moving on to the next one. Over here, I decided to remove this one out. I was inclined to do it, to make a multiple choice about this one, but I decided in the last moment because the lack of space to remove it out. Hypertension is there. This particular slide is related to the primary hypertension and to the secondary hypertension, meaning study this one, even that there is not a question directly from this slide, and using some of the bullets to fill the gap in the questions about hypertension. This is the reason why it's very important to read this one, even that is not a direct question from this one. Now, I have a freebie. I decided to create this particular question almost from the air because even that I will not ask you the different kinds of the new guidelines in respect to the blood pressure because I told you in the class that this is always changing. And even that in these days now the blood pressure normal need to be 100 over 70. But I want that you remember who are the guys who made these guidelines. What is the committee who do that? Meaning that I have a question in a multiple choice in 2 or 4 tests about this particular name. Meaning careful with that one. Is there, I did it. That is the new question for this term. Moving on. Yes, that is correct. The entire name. This particular one is a multiple choice. You will never escape from this one, 2 for 4. Sometimes what I do, I use that first hypertension slide that I show you. I put something extra over there to try to make a little bit, confusion or create some kind of difference over there. But if you read it, you understand it's there, you don't supposed to have problem. But that is a multiple choice in 2 tests of 4. Again, essential hypertension and is idiopathic because we don't know the process why you had that high blood pressure. Very important that. The subtypes, again, I will not go with this because the different changes that is happening in this field, I don't want to tell you something that you have in front of you right now that is already old. And even that the new guidelines are even older because this is something that always is changing, meaning that's why I removed this one out. What we need to understand, the consensus is lower your blood pressure, better for that patient. The risk factors are out. I decide not to basically ask anything over there because we already asked so many risk factors in other places. The same thing happens over here. I decide to remove this one out. Again, this will be important for you in the core. You need to understand this particular concept. I don't have all the luxury to do all the questions that I need to have, but you need to understand that there is some even risk factor that can affect that baby information even before he born over there in respect of the primary hypertension. But again, I cannot cover this one over here, but in case that you encounter this problem later on, you know that is there. The next one is something that I always ask, and is this particular bullet. I will say that 3 or 4 will see this question, and it's a multiple choice, exactly what you see over there. I didn't change anything over there, okay? It's there, meaning careful with this one. Also, a tiny parenthesis over here. I already sent a test email in regarding that some students are still behind from the discussion number 2. I gave them until tonight at midnight. Meaning, if at midnight you didn't make discussion number 2, I promise you that on Saturday morning you will see a big zero over there because I already give a concession on more days over there. Okay? Coming back. In the treatment, exactly what I told you before. I will not ask you for treatment because you don't know the pathology. I will be basically dancing in the dark with this particular treatment. Meaning, forget about treatment by now, but remember, this is something that in the core you will go a lot. No. Concession for the notebook is not because one in simple reason. The first email that I sent to the 3 classes was in 3 days before the classes begin. You mentioned yourself what was the due date for that notebook and how much it is. I sent all the topics the week before, meaning no way, Jose. Moving on over there. Now, secondary hypertension, I know you need to try, but you always fail that one. Now, hypertension, secondary hypertension is a multiple choice. 3 or 4 will see that question and it's a multiple choice. I will change something over there. Moving on over here. The secondary adult hypertension, I decided to remove this one out. I have enough with the previous one. Now, the hypertensive crisis urgencies, there is just one question of 4. I did this one just for one test to make it different between them. Meaning careful what is exactly an emergency and careful what is an urgency. Is that true or false? Okay. In the orthotic postural hypotension, this is something that you will see later. I didn't have the opportunity to ask you for this one. It's not coming in your quiz now. But guess what? In the midterm, oh yes, qué rico, delicious sugar crush. I will ask for this one in the test, in the midterm, in 2 weeks. In less than 2 weeks, because basically after next week, the midterm is knocking the door. Careful with that one. Moving on over here. This one is a variance of that question that also we check in the midterm. No, now. Careful with this one. Moving on immediately. The hypotensions over there, these particular reactions, I will not go with this. I didn't have the opportunity to do the question that I want, and because I was running in space, I need to sacrifice that question. The treatment, you already know. I will not go with treatment. You are lucky, but you already know that this is something that you will need to revisit once that you enter in the core. I jump in the question. And believe it or not, my dears, this is a clinical case that is at the end of chapter 16, and the chapter 16 is gone. Yeah, I will basically for chapter 16.